Okay, so week 3 we started looking at how we can use formulas to reduce workload and just speed up the whole process. Ultimately, this is the whole point of spreadsheets. So first off, there was looking at linking up cells. So let's say, for example, we want to work out a total cost here. We've got the units here, we've got the unit cost here. So we can start a formula with equals, and then we could type in 75 times 1.99, but then when we go to the next one, we have to do the same again. Equals 66 times 1.99, and it'll take a long time and it's a bit of a process. Alternatively, we can do equals that cell reference, so G2 multiplied by H2 equals that. And the advantage of that is we can copy that, and then we can highlight all the way down, and then if we could paste, so you could go straight to paste. If we do that, we're going to lose a lot of the formatting. If we just paste the formula, then it just copies that formula all the way down, and because it's relative, every time it moves down, it keeps that in line, so it's relative to where it started. So this one was right next to it, and it stays in the same place. Alright, let's just remove that comment because it's a bit annoying every time we click in it. Okay, so next thing is how we can link sheets up. Now for this example, I've got several different sheets here. So if, for example, I wanted to work out, actually let's show you those again. So what I've got here is I've got Andrew's 2019 and 2020 sales and grand total there as well. So let's say, for example, I want to just bring over those summaries. I can do equals, go to Andrew's, click on Andrew's, and bring that across. Equals, go to his 2020 summary, and bring that across. And because it's relative, we can also do that. We can drag it across. Oh, can we? No, we can't. It's because it's going in there. It's writing a more complex formula. Let's try that again. There you go. Okay. Obviously, we just need to format that up as currency. There we go. And we could do the same for Jill's. Click on that. Click on Jill. And then we can bring that across. And you can see we're building up our nice summary table here where we're linking up sheets. So every time one of those sheets changes, this front page changes. So we don't have to go back and forth each time. We can just use this as our dashboard. Now, after that, there's a slightly obscure function called a 3D sum. I'm going to try and do one now. Now, I don't do these very often. They are quite rare, but occasionally they come up. So let's do an equals sum. And what I'm going to do is I want to sum up the 29 sales. So I'm going to click on Andrews, then I'm going to hold down the control button, shift button, and click on Howard's. And can you see now it's got pivot date? It's being a pain. 2 seconds. Okay, what I've done is I've done pivot tables here, which we're going to come on to later. So what I'm going to do instead is just swiftly copy that and in there paste that down, because that way then I can demonstrate properly to you how we can do. Oh, there we go. So let's try that again. Equals sum, open brackets, click on Andrews, and there's his 2019. I'm going to hold down shift, click on Howard, and can you see now it's doing sum Andrews Howard, because they're all lined up together. It's always looking at B15, close brackets equals, and now we get the 2019 totals. Now because these are relative, if I drag that across, then it's moved to C15. Let's just show you where C15 is. C15 is there, our 2020 sales. So, and there's our totals for our 2020 sales. So that's called a 3D sum. It is marked up as optional because it is quite unusual to use, but at times it can be useful, especially if you've got a whole load of employees or a whole load of months and you want to bring that information back together. So that was 3D. Just move that out of the way. Now the next thing we're going to look at is naming tables and cells. Now essentially naming things, you can highlight it, and rather than having the first cell listed there, you can type in a name. Let's give you an example. VAT. So you can see here I've got a VAT column, and ex VAT. VAT currently is at 20%. That's not always the case because VAT does change. So this one we're going to do equals that times that, and we get that sum. Now if I go into this one and change that to VAT, suddenly it knows that that one is VAT every time you type in that. So what I can do now is equal that times VAT, and as long as we haven't used a reserved word, you can see now that formula always knows that's there. Over here equals VAT, brings that number straight across. So if you had a cell that said something like, I don't know, a person's height, a person's weight, and you labelled it, then rather than having to refer back to that cell reference each time, you can just type in that word. So it's a really neat way of working with formulas and functions. Right, let's just copy that. And let's paste that formula all the way down. Oh, okay, interesting one here. Hashes means there's not enough space. There we go, a bit wider. Okay, next. Now what we're going to look at is VLookups, for vertical lookups, and horizontal lookups. Now let's just say, for example, we've got people working on commission. So these are our sales people, and every time they make a sale over £200, they get a 5% commission. When they make a sale over £400, they get 10% commission. And we work our way through. So let's work out first what our commission is going to be. Let's just bring this across. And then we can use a regular formula after that to work out the actual commission. Actually, let's call that one commission rate. And then we can do our... Now we could do this all in one go, but for the sake of this one, we're going to do a quick VLookup. So, sorry, separate them out. VLookup. So I want to look up that value, comma, that table array. Table array just means what table, comma, what column index. Now the index is these straight away the columns. That's column 1, that's column 2. So I want to return column 2 and put 2 in there, comma. And now we get a final variable, which is an approximate match or an exact match. Now an approximate match means it'll find the closest number up until that point. An exact match means it has to find that exact thing. So on this one, 149.95, that isn't in this table. So because it's not in this table, it won't be able to find it. So therefore, it'll return an error. If we do an approximate match, it's going to try and find the closest number to that point. So we're going to use a true one this time and press return. So when we do that, we get an NA. Okay, we're getting an NA because actually what I have done is for this one, when it's below £200, we haven't got one in there. Let's just expand that table down slightly. So let's copy that one and let's put in 0 is 0. There you go, commission rate. So he hasn't sold enough there, so therefore you get 0. Okay, now I'm going to copy this down. You'll see an error. Why are we getting loads of errors, you wonder? The reason is, if you look at this, a double click, can you see this is moving down? This one's moving down correctly because it's relative. This one, we didn't want it to be relative, we wanted it to absolutely stay in that place. And that's called an absolute reference. So what we have to do is just go in here and slip in dollar signs. Dollar signs just mean, on this formula, whatever you do, don't change those numbers and letters. So let's drag that down now. There we go, happy days. It's returning those. You can see it's returning to decimal. Let's just flip that over. There we go, that's a bit nicer. So now we've got our commission rate. So missing a bit of colouring, sort that out. Actually, let's just sort that out now because it's going to bother me. And when I do this, it's going to bring those across as currency. So I'm going to have to flick those straight back to there. There we go. Lovely. Right. So next thing, let's work out what our commission was. So equals that times that gives us 0, obviously, because 0 times anything is going to be 0. Let's copy that down. Lovely. Right, so now you can see for this one, this sort of pen set is giving them a 20% commission. So for that £1,000 worth of sales, they've earned themselves an extra £200. So that's quite nice. Right, let's just copy the formatting to keep this lined up, all looking nice. Okay, now let's just move this out of the way. You can see to move things, if you highlight it and drag the border, you can move it to different places. Right, okay, so to demonstrate an HLookup, now I've got a bonus table here. Essentially, whenever they sell some binders, we know they're going to sell multiples of those binders. They get a bonus £20 in their paycheck. When they sell a desk or multiple desks, they get £20. Now, one thing to note here is all of these are in alphabetical order. That's the same as a VLookup. They need to be in ascending order or alphabetical order. So, bonus equals VLookup, equals HLookup. So, I'm going to look up that value, comma, that table. Now we know we need to make this absolute, so let's put the $sign straight in there before the U, before the 13, comma, which row index? Row 1, row 2. And this one, it absolutely has to appear in there. So we're going to use an exact match this time. There we go. So this one has sold a pen, therefore he gets £4 commission. Before we start, let's just take that. Let's copy that formatting there, lovely. And let's just replicate that all the way down. So now what we've got is we can see how much commission, how much bonus they get for these different sales. Okay, so that's taken us right through from using VLookup, HLookup. We've used cell functions, 3D functions, naming cells, naming and linking to sheets and cells. I hope that's a useful one, and hopefully you can relate that to business nicely. Thank you.